Hello, everyone, and welcome to MI for Change. I'm your host, Dr. Monica Gilbert, and today we're going to be speaking about change talk, which is the central goal of motivational interviewing. Now, sometimes it may be difficult for people to identify a change talk statement versus a non change talk statement. And the non change talk statement actually has a name. It's called sustain talk. So we'll be speaking about that in a little bit. What is change talk? Any vocalizations towards change, anything that your client says that seems like it's going in the direction for change. Let me give you guys a quick example. If you are working with a client that is suffering or going through some drug or substance misuse, a client that says something like, I don't really think that this is such a problem. I've been already in the street. I don't have a home, but it's fine. Like, it's not really that big of a deal. So they're engaging in what we call sustain talk. So these are arguments against change. Now, if your client says something like, I really wish that things were a little different, but it's just so hard to do right now. Even though they followed up with that sustain talk, they did give you a little bit of that change talk. So again, we want to see more change talk during our sessions because the more clients engage in arguments towards change, the more likely they are to change, to actually actively change. And what we want to do is sort of like this differential reinforcement procedure where we are putting our attention, we're focusing on change talk arguments. And then the sustain talk, we're kind of listening to them because we don't want to just dismiss them. And we're taking the information we need from them, but we're not giving it too much attention. We're sort of like putting them on extinction if you think about that differential reinforcement procedure. So that's basically what change talk is, vocalizations towards change. And I'm going to use my cheat sheet here a little bit just because I want to get these right. A way that you can remember different categories of change talk is an acronym provided by Motivational Interviewing, which is DARNCAT, DARNCAT, DARNCAT. So D stands for desire. And when we are speaking about desire, what we're hearing from our clients are any arguments that have to do with their desire to change their behavior. So, for example, a client can say something like, I want things to be different. I wish things were different. Are they ready to go? Not yet, but at least they're saying, I want things to be different. They're showing that desire. I wish little Tommy didn't kick me anymore. I wish that the school didn't have to call me 3 times a day because of his behavior. That is D for desire. Then we go to the next one, which is A for ability. So I think I could handle that. I think I could handle that behavior with the right set of interventions. I think that I can do it. So those are arguments again towards change, but in the desire part, in the ability. Yes. Where am I? In the ability part. So desire again is I want things to be different. Ability is I think I could handle that. And then we go to reason, which is the R. And reasons are the reasons that they have to change. So reasons against the status quo. An example is it would help my stress if I tried. So if I do this, we would be able to go out to more restaurants in the future. So the client is telling you the reasons why they want to change. They're doing it themselves. So this is another category of change talk. And then we go we went through desire, ability, reasons, and then we go to need. And need may be heard as something like, I really should do something about this. I need to do it now. Things are getting really bad, so I should really make that change. I should stop drinking. I should stop smoking. Whatever it is, I need to do it right now. So you hear arguments towards change in the form of need. Then we have commitment. And commitment is exactly what it sounds like. So they would say something like, I am committed to starting. So they haven't started yet, but at least they're committing. They're giving you a verbal committed. I am going to do this. There's no other thing that I want to do more in my life than to really do this. And then the action is when they're actually starting to do it. So I will start working on this tomorrow. So they're giving you a deadline, they're giving you a day when they're going to start doing it. So I'll start not providing attention for these maladaptive behaviors during, I don't know, whatever the activity we have tomorrow. And then we have taking steps, which is when they're already doing it. So I'm already taking steps. I'm already ignoring this behavior. I'm already reinforcing the behaviors I have to reinforce or whatever it is. So that's a DARNCAT, DARN, and then CAT, CAT. So that's a way that you can categorize the change talk. Now, if you want to get really nerdy about this, and there's tons of research out there, you guys can also send me an email and I'll send you the research that I have. There's actually a form that you can get online, it's completely free, where you can categorize the DARNCAT, and you would, during the conversation that you have with your client, you would tally. And the reason for doing this is that you want to tally the arguments towards change, which is change talk, and you also want to tally like the sustained talk, the arguments against change. And you want to do this as a baseline and then do it like a month after, just to see if there's any progress. So that's a way that we can measure that vocal behavior, those vocalizations during the sessions. Obviously, it can be a little awkward to do it in front of the client. So what people tend to do is that they get a consent to record the session. They tell them why they're recording, and then after they record about a 20-minute clip, they'll listen to it, and then they'll be able to tally the change talk versus sustained talk. This is a great exercise too that you can do with your supervisee if the client is okay with you recording them. So that's basically change talk. It's very easy. It's very straightforward. Let me give you guys examples of sustained talk. So sustained talk is the opposite of change talk. And instead of saying things like, for example, change talk in desire, it would be, I want things to be different. Sustained talk can be something like, I don't really see the issue why things should be different. I want things to stay the same. Now, sustained talk for ability, when we look at change talk, is I think I could handle that. When we look at sustained talk, it can sound like something like, I really don't have the time to do it. I have too much on my plate right now. I'm sure we've heard that one before. When we look at a reason, it would help my stress if I tried. So I don't really see what the big deal is. I don't think it's going to make any difference if I stop engaging in that behavior. That's a form of sustained talk. So I think you get the picture. Those are the differences between change talk and sustained talk. And I want to do an exercise with you guys. So I want to do this exercise so you can see how powerful using the appropriate communication is, and how powerful words really are, and how just by changing or saying something, you can actually evoke someone to say something else, if that makes sense. So here, let's do this exercise. And wherever you are, if you're in your car, your home, wherever you are, I want you to think about a behavior that you want to change. It can be drinking more water. It can be getting off electronics. It can be eating healthier. There's so many different types of behaviors out there. So think about a behavior that you want to change. Let me give you guys my example, my forever example. I have this as my notorious example. I think I drink more water now, but it's slowly getting there. I don't know why water is so aversive to me. But anyways, see, I should be drinking water, and I have this. I'm drinking Fresca sparkling water. This is not an ad. But but I just can't come to just drink water. Anyways, so my behavior that I have chosen is to drink more water. So I want you to write it down, or just keep that in mind. If you're driving, don't write anything down, just keep that in mind. So mine is drinking more water. Now, from 1 to 10, I want you to, in terms of how confident you are in your abilities to start changing that behavior, I want you to come up with a number, random number from 1 to 10, 1 being I'm not ready at all, 10 being I'm extremely ready and good to go. So think about a number. So when I think about my behavior of drinking more water, I would probably give it a 6. Okay, so I'm going to write down a 6. So, in terms of how confident I am to start drinking more water, I would say a 6. And then this is when the magic happens. You're going to ask yourself 2 questions. The first question is, you chose a 6, why not a higher number? So again, I'm going to use my example so you guys can see it in an actual example. So when I look at this, I chose a 6, why not a higher number in terms of how confident I am in drinking more water? It's because I've tried it before and it just doesn't work. I'm going to write it down. I've tried it, it doesn't work. I've just I'm not drinking more water. Secondly, how confident I don't like the taste of water. I don't like the taste. And I would say the third thing is probably that it's not like I'm sick or anything because I'm not drinking water. So I don't see any medical like issues right now. So that's you would ask that question. Then you would ask a second question. Remember, I said a 6. So you mentioned a 6 in terms of how confident you are in starting to drink water. Why not a lower number, lower than 6? Hmm. Well, because I've heard that it's good for your skin and I want my skin to glow. So definitely that. And then the other reason is probably because I can see how sometimes I feel dehydrated and I also feel tired because I'm dehydrated. So dehydrated and tired. And I would say why not lower in that I know that if I'm persistent enough, I can do it. Okay? So I don't know if you guys were able to see it, but when I asked myself the first question, why not higher? I started to engage in what? A lot of sustained talk. So I started saying, well, I don't like the taste of water. I really don't see any medical issues happening now. I've tried it before and it hasn't been effective. Just that simple question evoked tons of sustained talk arguments. Now, when I asked the other question, why not lower? I started saying, well, I want my skin to glow. I feel dehydrated and tired a lot of the times. And I'm sure that I can do it if I put my mind to it and I'm persistent. Okay. So this is a great exercise where you can see how one question can evoke sustained talk or it can evoke change talk. And I want you to now think about the conversations that you've had with your clients and ask yourself, have I been evoking more change talk or have I been evoking more sustained talk during those conversations? By the way, you can use this exercise into everything. Like if you're working with a parent, you can say something like, well, from 1 to 10, how confident do you feel in tackling these tantrums? I feel 7. Well, you said a 7, why not this number? And you said a 7, why not this number? And that is a great exercise where you can come up with the challenges, which is going to be the sustained talk, which we want to know. That's how we can tackle these challenges, but also the change talk. So the arguments towards change. And looking back again in your sessions with clients, and sometimes we do this and we don't even know, we may be just chatting and talking, and there's really no strategy to it. We're just chatting. But depending on what we ask, we can be pushing the client more away from change than what we think we are. That's why it's so important to be mindful of the questions we ask, of the things that we say, and always striving for really getting more and more of this change talk. We will speak about softening sustained talk in the future, but right now I just want you to take that home with you, how to really evoke more of these change talk arguments so you have more of them rather than sustained talk. I hope you guys found value in this talk today. And again, if you have any questions, comments, please put them out there, and hope to see you for the next one. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of MI for Change. If you're ready to keep growing your motivational interviewing skills, I'd love to invite you to explore my MI Academy, where you'll find a full library of on-demand courses designed to help you put MI into practice with confidence. You can